The next thing that we're going to look at here is the intended use statement. The intended use, again, is another defined term in ISO 14971, but it's also a common thing from systems engineering where you give each system an intended purpose. ISO 14971, intended use, is defined as the use for which a product, process, or service is intended according to the specifications, instructions, information provided by the manufacturer. What I always find is an easier way to think of intended use is it's basically just a statement that should contain the following information. A, the intended medical indication. B, here is patient population. C, we can think of as part of the body or type of tissue interacted with, leg or arm. This is important to point out as well because it will aid you in identifying risks. D is a user profile. E, use environment, another important one. Is it for use in home, hospital, intensive care units, etc.? And F is operating principles. So basically, you write a statement on what the product is in terms of A, B, C, D, E, and F as it makes sense. Sometimes it makes sense to leave out some of these. Some intended use statements can be very short, others can be very long. And now what we will do here is we will write the intended use statement for our AED, and we will just try and incorporate all the different elements that we have above, A through to F. Okay, and this is going to be the AED is intended for the emergency treatment of sudden cardiac arrest. So we can consider that as A, the medical indication. B, when it comes to the patient population, we'll say it's adult patients. Now, you may be making a device yourself, and you might say adult and children and pediatrics. And this, of course, you have to always remember that the early stuff in development really foreshadows the testing you do later on. So if I put down only adult here, it kind of means I'm only going to need to validate it on adults. But if and then provide warnings it's only meant for adults. If you decide it's meant to be used for adults and children and pediatrics, you're now going to need to gather evidence that it actually performs as intended on the adult population and the other populations. So you do have to be a little bit careful that the more you add to your intended use, of course, the more the device can do, but the more testing that you're going to need to do, especially validation testing, as a result of how you have written this statement. So you have to be quite careful in how you write this. So that's A, B, C. C is part of the body, so chest area for electrode pad placements. Now, the main reason to put that down is it just highlights the risks associated with the device in terms of, we need to now make sure that the pads that we use are biocompatible. They're not made from toxic materials, they don't cause allergic reactions, and of course that they make good electrical contact is going to be a big one here. What else do we have here? A user profile. So who is going to use the device? So our user profile will be used by trained first responders and laypersons. And again, it's very important we foreshadow what we write here will dictate our testing, because if we say it's used by first responders and laypersons, we better ensure that when we do our human factors testing, that we try incorporate both these groups as people who use the device, so that we can demonstrate that both trained first responders can use it and lay people who may not be trained. The last one here is use environment, or sorry, the second last one is use environment, say public spaces. And the last thing here that we'll state is operating principles F. I'll put down it is intended to deliver electric shock to the heart via electrode pads using automated algorithms to detect heart rhythm and deliver shock if necessary. There you can see the full intended use, and I'll leave that there and see you in the next lesson.